He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi, lo-fi a horror guy. Yeah. Lo-fi horror guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.
Oh, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Lo-Fi Horror Guy. What's going on? What's going on? Let's see here. We have a very special episode for you guys tonight. Oh my. We're going to be talking 2019's horror thriller, I See You. If you guys haven't seen this movie, tonight we're going to be joined by Matt Waldeck, who is the producer of the movie. Momentarily, he should be coming on here. In the meantime, jamming out to a little bizarre, you know what I'm saying? Just a little ignorant, stupid, hardcore, no big deal. Everybody doing good tonight? I'm going to wave to you. I just had some pizza, so I don't want to be grinding up the screen, you know what I'm saying? But I am waving to everybody. Thank you for tuning in, checking out everything. What up, Horror Punk? What's going on? Let's see, famous horror and film location, maybe that is. Thomas D'Elia, how you doing? Rotten Rags, what's up? Thank you for coming. And yeah, like I say, we're going to be digging pretty hard into 2019's I See You. If you guys haven't seen this movie, this interview / discussion is going to be very, we're not going to be cutting into spoilers, because it's one of those movies that the less that you know about it, the better of a time that you're going to have with it. So, yeah, let's see here. Matt, there is Matt here. Alright, Matt, so if you're watching, there's a little button there that says send request. And then I'll patch you in through there. Bam. Let's see here. Technology nowadays is absolutely nuts. Matt!
What up?
Holy moly, what's going on, my man?
How you doing, man?
You can hear me? You can see me well, I take it?
Yeah.
Sick. Very, very cool. Well, thank you so much. I know originally when I had mentioned the show today, it was going to be you, I, and Adam. And last night, just as a last little, last minute whim, I decided I was going to try the Instagram Live thing one more time, and the bastard wouldn't work.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'd done it before, and I've seen it time and time again. And so, I booked certain people, and I was so stoked to have you guys on. But thank you so much for being on. First off, man, I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for the support, and obviously it's super helpful to get the word out about the movie, and we're excited to have you talking about it and helping to build the hype.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, I guess to introduce everything, this is the Lo-Fi Horror Guys Growing on You Live. Growing on You Live basically is broken down into interactive interview on the interwebs Instagram. Or Instagram Live, And today we're going to be talking about your new movie, the horror thriller I See You. So first and foremost, if you can introduce yourself and just what your role is in the making of the movie.
Yeah, so my name is Matt Waldeck. I'm the president of Zodiac Features. We're the production company that made I See You, and we co-financed the film as well. And I'm the producer of the movie, and saw the project through starting in summer of 2015 when I bought the script, all the way to now. So so I've been living with it for a long time.
Sweet. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of segueing into my next question there. I was going to ask, when was the movie in production? When did it wrap? And then when was the official release of it?
Yeah, so we started prep, I guess, in March, April 2018 in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
And then we started our first day of filming, I think, first week of, almost about a year, I guess almost about 2 years ago. So it was early May 2018. Okay. And it was a really quick 20-day shoot. And then post, from thereafter, and then we world premiered at South by Southwest on March 11th, 2019.
Sweet.
and then we screened, since the movie shot in Cleveland, we wanted to share it with the local community, so we screened at the Cleveland Film Festival as well, Cleveland International Film Festival, and then we did our international premiere at the Edinburgh Film Festival in Scotland early June, when I think we played a couple other festivals in Western Europe, in Germany, and another one in the UK. So the film then was released. It actually had a week-long theatrical run in about 10 cities in the U.S. December 6th, and that was then released digitally as well. And then we started streaming free on Prime on like end of March 23rd or something like that.
Okay, sweet. Is there any plans as far as like a physical release for it, a Blu-ray or?
Yeah, it's available DVD Blu-ray. That's been available since January 27th.
For real?
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and recheck because I definitely didn't see it. Since the first time I watched it, I collect Blu-rays and movies, and kind of, as a lot of the horror community does on here, have just a little stack over here, a couple of shelves, and I absolutely wanted to throw that on it, and I couldn't find it. I guess I'd have to look on Amazon again and check, but that's sweet.
Yeah, you can get it on. I think you can grab it off Redbox too. You can grab it on Amazon, and then the UK. So it's getting released in the UK May 25th. Okay. And like the North American DVD, we have like a really cool making of featurette that was like 12, 13 minutes long. We had a lot of cast and crew interviews. Those bonus features aren't on the US DVD Blu-ray, but they'll be on the UK DVD Blu-ray. So I probably recommend yeah, but you can still watch it. You can grab. Yeah. I grab the UK one, so you can grab that from Arrow Video.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Yeah, awesome. And you can just order that right online.
Yeah, sick. Okay, very, very cool.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, right. What initially drew you to the project?
Yeah. So is it cool for me to discuss the movie? Or are you trying to hold back spoilers, or what are you trying to do?
As far as generally my questions, I was gonna try as hard as I could to be spoiler free, just because it's one of those movies that you go into, and the less that you know, like I did. I went into it and I saw the poster. I listened to a podcast called the Neon Brainiacs, and one of the fellas from that show, Ben, had recommended it. And
oh, really?
I just pulled it up on Prime, started it up, and I was completely blown away by it. So, So it was
cool. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. So, for me, what drew me to the project was the unique structure of it. I'd never really seen I've seen, obviously, in films like Memento, where we're messing around with the temporal aspects of the film and the timeline in order to tell the story, but I'd never really seen it changing point of view, but also sort of changing genre. Right. I thought that was super unique. And I thought that would be really attractive to audiences if we could pull it off correctly. And luckily, Devin Gray is the screenwriter. He obviously, none of us would be here without him to start everything off. But Adam Randall really defined the sort of the visual texture of it, and made sure that we executed sort of both halves of the movie so that the audience would believe that we were in one type of a film, and then obviously he nailed that so that we could then contrast it with the second half of the film, and nobody really missed a beat that way. So
yeah, for sure.
So that's what drew me to it. I thought that would be pretty fun for audiences.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It was. All right.
Cool.
You were early mentioned as far as being a Cleveland native.
So
mentioning initially, so this movie was filmed in Cleveland, and it was with a specific with a specific set in mind, location. Can you tell me about what it was that you were looking for as far as location?
Yeah. So we initially had thought we were going to have about a 25 day shoot. And, for my company specifically, we're looking for contained thrillers with small casts. right? So that's what we look at for, from a business point of view. So
Sure.
That's our model. So we knew that we really wanted to have, for me as a Cleveland native, Cleveland had been filmed in sort of heavy industrial areas, and White Boy Rick had just filmed there like maybe a year previous.
Yeah, yeah.
And their production designer and director, they were looking for what they called like a post-apocalyptic Detroit look. So they came to Cleveland to shoot that, and Cleveland, most people, so I was like, I wasn't offended by it. Obviously, there's parts of Cleveland that look like that, but
Right.
There's a humongous, gorgeous lake, and I really wanted to incorporate that into the film. And in fact, when we were doing our color correction, there was a woman, a very nice woman, that would come in and give us, lunch and things like that, so we could keep working. And she saw this like nice establishing shot of the lake in the back of the house, and she had asked if it was Malibu, California. So we definitely accomplished that. But
for sure.
Adam really wanted, because he was in London while I was doing this sort of the early preliminary scouting.
Okay.
And this is probably like our 9th or 10th house that we've been looking at, and then I would just take measurements and photographs and send them back to the UK. And we finally, he wanted an open floor plan so that the camera position could move around a bit. Otherwise, if you're in a sort of a more confined space, there's really only a couple of camera positions that you can shoot from, sort of up top in the corner, or sort of looking into the room from the doorway, and there's just not a lot of flexibility. So that was important to him, that he had the open floor plan. And then I really wanted to make sure that we were on the lake, so that we could sort of add in sort of a story feature, which was that Jackie, the Helen Hunt character, that she came from money, that she was somehow. We thought that was a good way to sort of add another layer of emasculation to Greg, So it all kind of worked in, and actually that house, it was kind of interesting. It was sort of like the de facto Hollywood house on that block, because Scarlett Johansson actually stayed there when they were filming the Avengers in town.
Yeah. Okay.
So the homeowner was super cool. He obviously, we didn't have Marvel money to spend on the house, and he was really, he was really cool and supported the film, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without him, obviously. So.
Okay. So with this movie, one of the things I kind of imagined was like an onion, and you peel off the top layer, and there's just layers to it that just kind of keep on peeling off. Was the location yet like another layer that was supposed to add on to certain things, as far as like possibly like juxtaposition, with it being such a beautiful scenery, and then some of the dark elements that are happening, or was it something more visualized from the script?
The locations?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little shout out. What up, Strack Daddy? I see him join the live feed here. But anyway, yeah. So when you're filming a low budget movie like that, it's important to sort of make it feel bigger, right? Because an audience, they don't care what the budget is. If it feels cheap, they're gonna probably tune out, or if it looks cheap, or they don't care about the plight or the struggles of the production.
Right.
So a good way to establish sort of scale on a film is by having varied locations. So that's why we've obviously got the house that's right on the lake, and then we've got sort of the park setting where the boy goes missing, and then we contrast that with some of the heavy industrial settings where the Tommy Brown house is, and it was important that we establish sort of spatially that we're in a bigger world than just one house,
Oh, okay. Right.
So it's more production sort of scale points that we wanted to hit.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's obviously it has a certain, each location has a different feel to it, right? So
Right.
you're in the Harper house, and it's more upscale, and then you go to this industrial area, where the industrial sort of backbone of the city is along the river.
Yeah.
Where this kid, obviously has been totally messed up from getting abducted when he was young.
Right.
So,
right.
So yeah, obviously that figures in heavily from a production standpoint.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Now with not even just to say nowadays, but horror in general. There's plenty of movies out there. There's plenty of TV shows out there, that are far fetched, and it might be something as far as monsters or aliens or things that are just kind of silly and fun. But with I See You, one aspect of the movie that haunted me far after the finale was even done, made me wonder: was there anything that this movie was based on? Was there like a news story or anything? Were there actual events? Because there's just some aspects of this where I'm like, oh god.
I mean, that frogging is a real thing that people do, and a quick Google search, a quick Google search will throw back a few stories of that.
Okay.
And there were a couple of girls that like followed home a drunk guy one night and went into his house, and they filmed themselves and put it up on YouTube, and they actually got arrested for it. But yeah, I mean, there was just a story about a mayor of, I don't know, he was in like the Maryland area, and he saw some blood on a doorknob in his house, and he went downstairs into the basement, and there was a woman down there that had been living during the quarantine, shelter in place. So,
oh my god.
Yeah, I know. They kind of like wrote the sequel for us there, but
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it definitely happens. I mean, there was another story that because we would obviously, I've got a Google alert on anything with sort of that stuff.
Uh-huh.
So there was another one where like an ex-boyfriend was living in a girl's closet in her dorm, like for a month after they broke up. So there's a few things, and it's in the Urban Dictionary, frogging, and
right.
But that's the only thing. Obviously, the story is made up. So,
okay. Well, I mean, that's great. It was definitely up until the point of seeing it, and once again, not digging too much into it because I don't want to, if people that are watching this haven't seen the movie before, I don't want to spoil anything. But that was one of those elements where I was just like, "What is going on?" Like it just, has
it's freaky.
Tremble.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Yeah. When you guys were casting the lead roles, what were some determining factors in choosing who it was that you ended up with?
So Helen was the first piece of cast that we landed.
Okay.
And when you're putting together a project from a producer's point of view, international pre-sales are really important in order to get it financed.
Sure.
So you want to try to get a name that has some value. Obviously, her talent and any other actor's talent is a given, but
right.
You're working in conjunction with your foreign sales reps who are sort of taking the temperature of the international marketability of your project. And so Helen came on board early, which was amazing of her. She did a thriller early on in her career, but obviously she's known, for her drama and roles, and she's won one Oscar and was nominated another time for a great movie called The Sessions, if you haven't seen it, with John Hawkes.
Yeah.
Which is a great movie and amazing performance by her and John. But so we landed her first, and then a lot of the other cast were really eager to work with her. So,
sure.
Fitting all of that into the budget, everybody was really flexible and cool about that because they all kind of rallied around the script. They knew the writing was really good and there was a good story, and we had a shot at making a pretty cool and memorable piece of work. So.
Sure.
So it was really like Helen to drive the pre-sales, and that allowed us to start to get financing together. And then I think the other two that were really difficult to cast were the two Froggers, Owen and Libe.
Sure.
And we didn't land on them until they did what's called a chem read, which is where we put them on screen together and they read a scene together, because most of the actors, they're reading separately and we're watching video.
Sure.
So once we got them together, it became pretty clear that those were the two, Froggers for us. And obviously Libe has this kind of a sweet innocence about her, and her character is really the only person in that entire film that doesn't do anything wrong, right? So,
right.
So it just worked, and obviously Owen did an amazing job, and so yeah. But it was really Helen that sort of anchored everything, and everybody wanted to work with her and work on a cool project, and that's hard to do, to get everybody to come to Cleveland and film something in 20 days, and
sure.
We didn't have trailers or any of that sort of thing. So the cast they're amazing, and like everybody in the neighborhood kind of rallied around the film, and any place that wasn't a hot set in that house, we turned into dressing rooms for Helen and John and everyone else, and we had the neighbors involved as well with wardrobe, and they would come over and watch some of the filming. So it was a really unique experience, and I think the actors really loved it too, because you got to create an environment for them to feel comfortable and not rushed.
Sure.
Even though we're rushing like crazy every single day.
Right.
There's a real art to making sure that you're creating an environment for Adam to work with the actors in, so that they feel that they're doing the best work.
Right. Okay. And now, initially, Helen was wanting to film in California, right? But it was ultimately.
I don't think it was necessarily Helen that was. I mean, there's always logistical conversations about. There's a way to film in California that would have been probably cheaper if you film within the TMZ, the 30-mile zone. You don't have to pay for any per diem or lodging for any of the cast or crew. So you find that's why you'll see Blumhouse is always filming or tries to film it within the TMZ. So because essentially everyone's commuting to work.
Right.
So you find a lot of savings there. But Ohio has a motion picture tax credit, and we were receiving a pretty big piece of our financing through monetizing that tax credit. So we really had to film it in Ohio, and I didn't really know any other way to pull it off with the budget, the resources that we had. I wouldn't have known how to do it in LA on the budget that we had.
Right. Okay.
Because I'm from Cleveland, so I get called on a lot of favors and everything else.
Right. And you being a Cleveland guy, I mean, that's pretty sweet for you to be able to showcase hometown.
Yeah, it was a really, it's like a really, obviously Adam is, the lead creative on it, but
sure,
is because of the locations, it was kind of a personal movie for me. All the locations that we shot in were sort of important to me in some way or another growing up here.
Sure.
So,
sweet.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Some of the best scares of this movie and some of the best horror, I guess I should say, exists in the background of the shots. What was this? Was this necessarily like a early on conversation? Like, was this something that was done on purpose, or was I guess talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it was definitely deliberate. There was a lot of script work that was done between when I acquired the script and even just 3-4 days before shooting, because we were supposed to have 24 days to shoot the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And just because of the way that the cash flow was working, we had to lose days, which meant we had to lose characters and we had to lose locations.
Okay.
So the script work was happening, until the day we started filming, and dialogue's always getting tweaked between the actor and the director and everything like that. But we definitely consciously. I don't like cheap jump scares. I don't think it's just. It's a sort of a more.
Yes.
It's sort of a more intelligent kind of thriller, and we try to respect the audience and let you guys figure it out for yourselves.
Sure.
We don't need a cat around the corner to jump out at you.
Right.
Hopefully, and there's really only one. I mean, everybody jumps anytime I've ever seen it when the bat hit comes, right?
Yeah.
At around the midpoint or at 20-25 minutes into the movie.
Right.
So that's really the only jump that we have, and we consciously did, try to dial that back.
Sure.
We didn't want it to feel cheap, even though the entire first half of the movie is meant to be sort of a cliche from a genre trope perspective. We want it to feel like a haunted house movie.
Right.
And that was something that we really worked on, because the script had been shopped around Hollywood for 2-3 years before I had seen it. And one of the big things that we changed was really defining the two types of genres. So, for example, as the script was originally written, we know that the Froggers are in the house from the beginning. So there's no tension that way, and you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And the gags, it's not like Hereditary where someone, there's a woman getting her neck sawed off or something from the rafters. The gags are so feather light that the direction becomes even more important, because it's about mood and tone, and it's about the cinematography, which really requires a skillful hand, which we were lucky with Adam.
Yeah.
to have him to establish that, because there's a version of this movie that is really boring,
Yeah.
So if he doesn't create that mood through the movement of the camera and yeah, because otherwise you're just sort of relying on jump scares. And there's a lot of Easter eggs too. It's a movie that's worth watching 2 times,
Yeah.
because we're telling you who the villain is the entire time, which is something I really love about the movie, that it's subtle that way.
At some point, I feel like I'm going to have to do another interview with you, because, like a spoiler interview, because there are a lot of things that I want to ask. Like, I initially watched this movie, like I said, based on the recommendation. So I watched it, and then I told my wife, I'm like, we have to watch this movie. This movie is so good. And so we go to watching it, and there's probably 2 different points where all of a sudden something happens, and I'm like, oh, shit, did you see that? And I don't think I picked up on that. I'm like, no, look, we have to rewind. I swear to God, this such and such was right here. And you look at it like, oh my God, that is awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Yeah.
But there's definitely other things too, where I still sit after watching it twice. I'm like, all right, is this what that's supposed to mean or not? But okay, adding with kind of the different tones and the different layers. William Arcane did the score for this bad boy.
Yeah.
Tell me how he came onto the project and how that all came about.
So this is his first gig as a composer.
Sure.
I never met the guy. He's out of the UK. And I was a big fan of the score, but that was an Adam Randall decision. And he may have come from our music supervisor as well, a guy named Will Quiney, who's also out of the UK, because Adam's out of the UK, so they have some connections over there. And Adam had done 2 or 3 other films in the UK, so this was his first American film. That basically Adam. There were about 3 or 4 composers that he sent scenes to, and those composers came back with scoring those scenes, and then he really loved Arcane, and I thought I agreed with him. So it was really simple. You try to, I try not to meddle too much. There's always like a battle over some of the editing and stuff like that, but in terms of the director and his sort of creative team and all that stuff, you're really looking just to try to support him as much as you can. So,
right.
But he was a real find, I think, and he actually made a lot of his instruments to create that score.
Oh, really?
So there's like a flute that's in there that he made out of like a cow femur, and it was really hardcore stuff. It was really intense. But I never talked to him. I never met him. I maybe had 1 or 2 emails with him, and we just kind of let him go to work, and he did a great job.
Yeah, for sure. It's even one of those things where even in the beginning scene, like the very first opening of the kid riding his bike and whatnot, if I had the movie on mute and I didn't hear that, it gives it kind of a different tone or, kind of a different atmosphere. And then you turn on the music and it's just a less is more simple. Like, it is to the bone, like at times just gets you. And I love that about it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and we're working on trying to get the soundtrack to be made available for people. So hopefully we can get that going in the next 60 days or so.
Sweet. Okay. When filming, were there particular bits that you guys had played back and it just automatically you knew that it was going to be effective?
The sort of climactic fight between the Frogger and Greg, I thought that was really effective. We had a really good stunt coordinator who's a local Cleveland guy, a guy named Rick Fike. He did a great job. And John Tenney also, just like, the guy was drenched in sweat. It was incredible. He just went for it. He was so all in, on board. Like, I can't say enough about that guy.
Sure.
And it was, I don't know, it was 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. It was our last night in the house, and we filmed till sunrise. Because we weren't, we only had the house for 15 days, so we had to get everything that night. And so, I think the fight really landed well, and the scene where Alec is sort of coming down the hallway with the axe. That was like a pretty powerful moment. Yeah. Where William Arcane really hit the strings pretty hot in that sequence. So that's the one that really felt sort of like a horror movie. Like that moment, like the axe murderer moment.
Right.
But then, like the boy coming off the bike, that's not how that was originally written in the script. That was originally written sort of a Stranger Things scene where we just hear a twig snap and we cut away, and then the bike's on its side with the wheel still spinning. So I was actually just in the airport coming back from LA, and I ran into the stunt coordinator, sort of the guy in Cleveland who does all that, and I asked him. I said, how much would it cost to do what that's called a harness pull? How much would that cost? And
sure.
Is it feasible? And can we do that to a kid? With a kid, would his physique be able to handle it?
Right.
Is he going to break a collarbone or something horrible? So he was like, oh yeah, that's super easy, because I was running into a lot of problems to try to get the movie financed because people were saying they didn't know how to market it, which obviously you can understand because you're having a hard time talking about it without revealing spoilers. But in the trailer, we weren't going to be able to show the other half of the movie, right? You can only show the first half, and everything was designed to keep that reveal from getting blown, even down to the contracts that I negotiated with Liebe, Bear, and Owen Teague's agents. They agreed to not have their names put on the poster or any of the marketing, or their image. So when you're negotiating these contracts with the actors, there's name and likeness tie-ins. So if Helen's face goes on it, then John's face has to go on it, and so on and so forth. So, and that's a real thing, and that's as important as the amount of money that you're paying the actor, right? So
sure.
From the beginning, everybody was really cool, especially Owen and Liebe, just about not being included in the marketing, and so that landing that scene with the kid flying off the bike like that was super important to establishing that the movie is a supernatural ghost story film, right?
Right.
And if we didn't have that, we even messed around, because it's kind of a cheat, the angle that he's getting pulled off the bike, right? It's not that realistic. And so we even play around with it being more of a sort of a horizontal pull as opposed to a 45, and it just didn't have the same effect. And so we knew that. We probably got that in maybe like 2 or 3 takes, but that was key because that was how we were going to have to sell the movie. That was a big trailer moment. So that was really important. But I guess those 2-3 scenes, I thought that we knew were going to work pretty well.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. All very effective. All points where it was, had your hand and face pretty much, if you will.
Cool.
All right. Last but not least, all right. So this is just kind of like a fun little question. It doesn't have to be too serious or anything. But in 5 words or less, I would like you to give your personal plug on why anyone who hasn't seen ICU, why they should. Your best sell in 5 words or less.
Innovative. Is not one of the words. Innovative.
Okay.
Smart. Gripping. Independent. Support independent film. You got to support independent film. And I would say, puzzling. It's challenging. How's that?
Challenging. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, because when we were first released the movie, we were getting compared to Get Out and Hereditary and big movies, and it wasn't. And we were getting bad reviews. Like our first 2-3 reviews were kind of bad, and it wasn't until this woman Tasha, I forget her last name, but she was writing for The Verge, and she sort of framed it up that it's a puzzle movie. And every object is important, and we're leaving a whole trail of breadcrumbs for you without smashing you over the head with it.
Sure.
And people aren't used to seeing movies like that, I don't think, nowadays. So I think sort of challenging and sort of the thrill of because it's a pretty dark and grim outcome in the movie. but it's sort of the thrill and the reward of figuring out the puzzle that makes it entertaining, because that's all we really want. We just want it to be entertaining for people.
Sure.
So I think if you really focus on the puzzle element of it, I think that should make somebody want to go try to figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can say, like, upon my first viewing, there was little reminiscence as far as like thinking of like Ari Aster stuff with Hereditary or Midsummer, but it wasn't so much out of, I guess, some of the things that they might have been saying. I think it was just more of like the situational awareness as far as watching the movie and paying attention to little details, to little things, to something that may have moved at one point that if you weren't really watching or paying attention to it, you may have not noticed, and so it wasn't so much a thing as far as like a knock, because that was kind of like I had mentioned to a couple of friends of mine and said, they're like, oh yeah, cool, they love that, and they're like, so I have a little, comparison as far as that type of style, but with like the cinematography and with the score that went over it, all absolutely just real nice, thumbs up. So
Well, cool, man. We'll order that UK DVD and
absolutely
enjoy the bonus features and the extras. Our team did a good job with that.
I'm gonna have to check that out for sure. So this is the last little segment where if you want to plug anything, if you have other things going on, you just want to give a shout out, go right on ahead.
Yeah, well, shout out obviously to Adam Randall and Devin Gray, our writer and director. Keep an eye out for our Cleveland Torso Murders project. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but you can check out our press announcement that was on Dread Central.
Okay.
So we're working on that, and hopefully, we don't know when we'll be able to go back into production again, but we'll have we've got a pretty cool wilderness survival film called Dead Reckoning that we're working on. We hope to get into production on that next year or so, awesome. Provided that everybody stays healthy and the industry opens back up again. So
sure, okay, awesome.
Yeah,
man. Well, Matt, thank you so much. I truly appreciate you being on, and I'm gonna do my little part as far as shouting you guys out whenever I can. Lots of friends on here. If you guys have not seen the movie, we were talking about 2019's I See You. Please go check it out. Matt, greatly appreciate it. Air high five.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. I hope you guys stay safe and everybody's healthy and you stay well, man.
All right, man. Peace. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
See ya.
All right, everybody. This is the Lo-Fi Horror Guys growing on you live. You guys take care and have a good night. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.